To remove moisture in the piping and dry the inside of the pipe, use a vacuum pump to produce a vacuum inside of the pipe. Connect hoses to the gauge manifold and the service ports on the liquid and gas pipes. Then, connect the hose at the center of the gauge manifold to the vacuum pump. If the power supply turns off while the vacuum pump is in operation, oil from the pump will flow back to the inside of the air conditioner. Particularly if HFC refrigerant is used, this backflow could become a critical cause of a breakdown of the air conditioner. Adapters should be mounted to prevent a breakdown. Start the vacuum pump. When the maximum vacuum level reaches minus 100.7 kiloparsecs or less, the vacuum drying is initiated. From this point, operate the vacuum pump for a period of 2 hours. Then shut the valve on the gauge manifold and stop the vacuum pump. Then, check to make sure that the vacuum level is retained at minus 100.7 kiloparsecs for a period of about 1 hour. If 2 or more vertical pipes are provided, we recommend the use of a raceway. First, mount the raceway, fixing the nuts to the flange leg, and then install the piping to the flange leg with the use of the fixing band. We recommend you provide a clearance of 1,200 millimeters or so between the vertical pipe supports. This screen shows a dedicated copper pipe cutter. Large, medium, and small size cutters are available, so please select a suitable one according to the copper pipe sizes. Put the cutter at a 90-degree angle to the copper pipe and slowly press the cutter down in order to cut while preventing deformation of the copper pipe. Protect the cut edge with tape or the light. Using a metal saw or high-speed cutter produces burrs on the cut edge, or can cause chips to enter the pipe, and therefore are not recommended. Two types of structural foundations are available for outdoor units other than concrete blocks. One is a mat foundation, and the other is a ground beam foundation. Both of these foundations are constructed upon a concrete placing base. Furthermore, H-section steel support platforms can be placed on these foundations. This slide shows an example of the ground beam foundation. Please note that the outdoor unit's foundation legs should be wholly supported on the frame surface of the steel frame platform. In other words, the outdoor unit should be supported in a lengthwise direction on the steel framed platform. In all cases, the building should be checked closely and carefully with particular consideration to drainage. Careful consideration of the foundation of the outdoor unit and the piping on the bottom part of the equipment is also important. So, a space over the whole surface can be secured while facilitating maintenance. With use of piping and a drain pan, the outdoor unit's drainage can be managed more efficiently. During the installation of the outdoor unit, it is important to take into consideration heating concerns. Therefore, fresh air should be taken in as much as possible to minimize the suction of exhaust air from other places. In order to prevent a short circuit, there is a dimensional restriction in the equipment layout. For setting the equipment back to back with each other, as shown on the screen, a space of 900 millimeters or more should be provided between the units for safe operation. Also, please carefully refer to the technical specifications to determine the correct spacing. The outdoor unit requires a space of 600 millimeters or more in the front in order to enable inspection or replacement work of the compressor or other components. For brazing, be sure to use inert nitrogen gas so no oxide film is produced. Connect the acetylene gas or oxygen cylinders and open the valve to adjust the pressure. At this time, put the nitrogen gas hose up to your face with the pressure set to 0.02 megapascals and adjust the pressure to the extent that it feels like a soft breeze. Be sure to keep the nitrogen gas feeding side and the opposite side open. To prevent the refrigerant piping from bending, it is necessary to provide support brackets at a spacing of 1,500 millimeters to 2,000 millimeters. The piping repeatedly expands and contracts as the unit operates. For example, 10 meters of pipe length will expand 13.2 millimeters at a temperature increase of 80 degrees Celsius. Therefore, in order to allow expansion and contraction, do not excessively tighten the piping. Finally, in consideration of this expansion and contraction, both ends of the piping should be positioned so that they will not come into contact with the building. To prevent the refrigerant piping from bending, it is necessary to provide support brackets at a spacing of 1,500 millimeters to 2,000 millimeters. The piping repeatedly expands and contracts as the unit operates. For example, 10 meters of pipe length will expand 13.2 millimeters at a temperature increase of 80 degrees Celsius. Therefore, in order to allow expansion and contraction, do not excessively tighten the piping. Finally, in consideration of this expansion and contraction, both ends of the piping should be positioned so that they will not come into contact with the building. This screen shows the procedure to install the indoor unit by using a lift. You should conduct the marking in advance and set the lift at the center of the indoor unit. When setting the lift, basic safety precautions should be followed. After checking the positioning, fix the lift in place. Then, after securely fixing the lift, place the unit on the top plate of the lift. Slowly raise the lift while supporting the unit with your hand. Next, place a nut and washer on the upper and lower ends of the hanger bolt, approximately 30 to 40 millimeters apart. We recommend that you measure the distance from the lower nut and washer to the floor in order to position them correctly. Finally, check that the unit is level and the height of the unit is correct. When repairing insulation materials, we recommend that you repair from straight sections. Use repairing materials longer than the area that is to be repaired, and insert them in the insulation block. Apply adhesive to the ends to bond them to each other. Shield the bonded part with tape or a sheet. For finishing of refrigerant piping by taping, be sure to tape the piping from the bottom to the top. If the tape overlap points upwards, rain or dust could easily enter the overlap. Therefore, it is better that the overlap points downward. On the screen, we can now see the positioning procedure of the indoor unit hanger bolts. First, in order to center the indoor unit both vertically and horizontally, use chalk lines to mark the floor according to the diagram. Second, align the vertical and horizontal lines with those marked by the chalk lines on the floor. Align the vertical and horizontal positions at right angles to each other. With a fixed pattern, mark the 4 positions of the hanger bolts respectively on the floor. There are 2 methods available to project the positions marked on the floor onto the ceiling. One is to use a laser pointer method, and the other is to use a plumb bob method.